Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room. Inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Boiler Room. I'm your host. My call sign is Hesher. Thank you for joining us tonight for this live broadcast. Coming out live on YouTube, on Rockfin, on Spreaker.com, on AlternateCurrentRadio.com, and then after the fact, all across the interwebs, all up in your interwebs. Boiler Room. Goodness gracious, we're approaching episode 480. That's pretty amazing. Been doing this since 2015 here. Started out as a purely audio podcast, of course. The longtime listeners know that. They know that about us. But we picked up a camera or two. We picked up a few things along the way, and it's been really fun to have all you longtime listeners with us through that whole experience, getting to where we are now. And man, it's been a crazy road. It's been a crazy road. It is a crazy road in the media when how can I say this? When you do your best to remain somewhat outside of that mainstream dialectical sort of narrative, we found that between 2015 and, I don't know, 2020 maybe, you would get called names quite often. It was like I did this one intro for the show, and I've probably used it a couple of times, but it's a good one. I'd say we're too left for your right friends, too right for your left friends. Did I do that backwards? You know what I mean. Too conspiratorial for your mainstream friends, and not conspiratorial enough for your tinfoil hat wearing friends. So, but you know what? That's worked out, because when you're able to look at all those angles and sides to this stuff, and know and accept what your biases are, and know and accept what the goals of global government are, and the way that was all set up, the reasons that was all set up, why we're moving that way, how technocracy meets into that, how the education system getting corrupted has led into that. And then, you understand your Project Mockingbirds, your MK Ultras. Those things are not conspiracies, folks. Those are actual facts. Those are things that go on, went on, proven things that went on. And if you think they just went away or they were a one-off, well, guess what? They're not. There is the most complex type of propaganda and messaging and narrative leading that we've ever seen, that the human race in known history has ever seen. We right now are living through something completely novel, unless this happened somewhere outside, way back in like Atlantis era or something like that, maybe. But you know what? It's been pretty fun. It's been pretty crazy getting to where we are, and here we are. And now all things that everybody warned about for years are back on the table, all the way down to all out nuclear assured destruction and Holocaust. If you go with Mr. Let's Go Brandon, but of course he'll only say those things behind closed doors, I guess, to donors, right? So I don't know. Really interesting. But hey, here we are. We're going to do it again here in the Boiler Room. Got a great show lined up for you. Got myself, and I'll open the room up there. You got a preview a moment ago if you're watching live on the YouTube stream. And it is October the 13th, 2022. And just want quickly to remind everybody that PayPal provided a foreshadow of what could happen if all currency was digitized. I hope you're all paying attention. All right. I read that off a Global Wealth Protection Instagram page, because I love that statement. Let's see here. I found a couple other statements and tweets that I really like today. So I'll read you some more of those after I introduce everybody. But let's go ahead and introduce everybody because we got a bit of a late start tonight. And I'm going to open the green room up there. Boom. All right, here we go. We're in the boiler room. All right, we've got Mr. Mark Anderson joining us tonight. Mark, host of Stop the Presses on RBN. Mark, what's going on?
How's it going? Good to see you. I've got some pretty hot stuff here in my trusty binder about the banksters. Quite the deluge of information, but I'll keep it kind of brief. But it's pretty good stuff.
All right, excellent. I'm down to talk about that because I was saying on my TNT show this morning, there is a war going on right now, and I'm not talking about the war over the border between Ukraine and Russia. I'm talking about the financial warfare that our own governments in the West are waging on all of us right now, because that is just going to get worse if we can't get our heads out of our asses. But I don't see our heads coming out of our asses anytime soon, seeing as whose heads we're talking about here. But yeah, let me introduce everybody else, Mark, and do a quick icebreaker. I got a good WTF in lieu of Spore being here for you. So we'll do that, and then we'll hit the bankers. But let's welcome Ruckus of the Daily Ruckus. Ruckus, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Howdy. I don't know. Let's just let's just
That
do
works.
it.
That
It's
works.
easy, quick,
Yeah.
fun. No, just kidding. Thanks for having me. Shout out. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us. And our next guest that we're going to move along to right down there.
Down there, we got Chopper, the resident basher, smasher, shaper, and smelter here in the boiler room. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
What up, dude? Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here with you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's great to have you always. Big shout out to Chris over there on the Rockfin. Thanks for your support. And shout out to our patrons, too. I'm sorry I haven't been active on Patreon lately, but we're resetting a lot of things in the background. So those of you that are in our Patreon group, we appreciate you, and thank you. Same with anyone that's hit the swear jar lately via PayPal or bought any merchandise. That all helps us keep this operation rolling for sure. So we appreciate all you folks. You can find all that stuff on the website. So yeah, and you can get Boiler Room shirts, you get Daily Ruckus shirts, you get ACR gear, you get mugs, hats, all that good stuff. So check us out over there. We got the store up at alternatecurrentradio.com. So that's your boiler room tonight. Hesher, Ruckus, Mark Anderson, and Chopper with you. So let's see here. Let me play this. Well, let's look at this thing that Spore brought us. Actually, I think this was one that Ruckus threw down. Jury convicts man for vile act with Elmo doll. No, what the hell is this, you guys? Okay, so this is a recent article here. I guess it came out yesterday. A jury yesterday convicted a Michigan man of aggravated indecent exposure for using a Tickle Me Elmo doll to masturbate while he was inspecting a residence on behalf of a potential purchaser. The jury acquitted this guy of malicious destruction of property, also a misdemeanor. The indecent exposure crimes carry a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison and $2,000 fine. But what happens, everyone wants to know. Well, he was arrested last year after the owners of a suburban Detroit home contacted the cops to report that their nanny cam caught this dude doing this thing. So he's doing an inspection for someone at this house. The owners and their two small boys left the 3-bedroom house. After a couple hours, the homeowner remotely accessed her home security cameras to check on the progress of said inspection. And she saw, she ended up testifying. She saw this guy remove the Tickle Me Elmo doll that had been among stuffed animals stored in a small teepee tent in the bedroom of their son, their 2-year-old son. And then he, quote, unzipped his pants and began masturbating in our son's closet with the Tickle Me Elmo, end quote. And it says he has admitted to placing his penis in Elmo's mouth, in the doll's mouth, and apologized and said he was ashamed. So you just can't trust anyone anymore. No one's a professional anymore. I cannot believe this, man. I went to, should I call them out? I don't know if I should call. I went to one of the sporting goods stores today, and this is sort of an aside from that. I just have to talk about something a little more normal while we let that percolate for a minute here. What the hell, dude? But I went to a store today, and it was one of these things where they have, a glass counter and a young man behind the counter, and there was nobody there but me and this other guy. And this other guy, like, they're just having a personal conversation, right? And I figure, okay, well, they must be waiting for like some paperwork to go through. I think maybe he's doing a firearm purchase, and you got to wait for that check to come in, right? The background check. No, 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 no. They're just sitting there talking, gabbing. I went and I set my sunglasses down on the counter and just stared at him, and nothing. It was like I didn't exist. And I paced around a couple times behind them, so I made sure they knew I was there. They just kept talking about lunch, kept talking about personal stuff. I waited for almost a half an hour because I was like, I'm just gonna wait and see if any employee at this place acknowledges me. No, 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 nothing. And I'm hearing stories from other people in the workplace too, of like people, like grown adults, like people in their 30s and 40s, like laying down on the floor at factories and going to sleep. I mean, the quality of humans in the workplace seems to, in some cases, I can't paint with a broad brush, but in many places, and I'm hearing a lot of anecdotal stuff, I keep seeing this where it's just like, what the hell? What happened to the professional class? What happened? I mean, I don't know. The bar has gotten really low. I don't know if the COVID lockdown has something to do with that or just the general insanity of the world. But anyways, this guy was doing a job, right? He's there to do a professional job. He's there to assess a house, and he takes his dong out and he puts it in a Tickle Me Elmo's mouth. I mean, I don't know, man. The world's going to hell in a handbasket, Mark. What do you think?
I think he's not having enough sex in the normal way. I'm just going to float that out there. He's not getting any in a big time. And so he's looking for another outlet. It's too bad he had to bespoil and completely denigrate Elmo, one of my favorite characters, of course, in so doing. But hey, he's got to do what he's got to do, I suppose, to satisfy himself. And he's going to have to find a different venue, a different outlet, though, and try and find one that keeps him out of trouble, I suppose. Maybe he could work for a factory and sleep on the floor and try to calm himself down a little bit and get over these really out of the way urges that he's having. But it definitely shows how people are basically spinning in circles in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people are just inundated with the mass media cartel's headlines. Everything seems to point to a meaningless world, irredeemable world that's going nowhere fast. And a lot of people probably feel a real strong malaise, like there's no future. And so everything becomes anything goes, So if he has to corrupt Elmo in the process, so be it.
Yeah.
That's my initial take on it.
Yeah.
It's really funny though. It's just funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's too bad for whatever mental situation led him to this situation. But man, it made for great clickbait fodder here. Ruckus, I'm gonna have to disagree with Mark on being a fan of Elmo because Elmo's been involved in psyoping kids into taking experimental drugs. Mark, I don't know if you saw that.
I was being facetious.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good. All right,
that was my guess because I'm pretty sure Elmo's a little after. Well, actually, most of our time on this call.
Yeah.
So,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, we dodged the Elmo bullet, as it were.
Speak for yourself. I get up early to watch Elmo on Saturday. Fresh ones.
Right on. Okay. We learn
Just
something new
kidding.
every day. How about that? We got 2 huge Elmo fans in the room, and 2. How about you, Hesher? Which way you go? Elmo, yay, nay? No.
Boiler room exposed as Elmo fans today, everybody. Oh my goodness, we've ripped on Elmo so much, and now we're all fans of Elmo.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself who Elmo even is. Literally, I got to look this up.
He's the one with the most annoying
Animal, the drummer on the Muppets.
Here, check it out. He's this one right here, man. I've got him on the screen for you there. That's Elmo right there.
Yeah.
And
that dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the absolutely uninitiated, the people who have absolutely no clue, the Tickle Me Elmo doll vibrates. So
Okay, there we
For
go.
some of you folks who were not quite on the level of understanding this story maybe out there, just so you know how that works. So, yeah, he's Tickle Me Elmo because when you, like, squeeze his hand or his belly, or I think it's his belly, I think that's the point, you tickle him, and then he, like, vibrates and goes, "Ee!" Or right, whatever. But I do distinctly remember a couple of things about that doll when it first came out. Number 1, uh people are dropping some interesting pictures now in the Discord chat, distracting me. Love it. Um, that's an Elmo I can get behind. We'll just leave it at that. So this was a very popular toy, so much so that, like, people got into, like, fights over this thing, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they kinda, like went and there's the picture. All right, yeah. That movie Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger, this concept, this idea that people would go so crazy over one hot toy for Christmas was actually inspired by the true life, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about the Tickle Me Elmo, because people went freaking nuts over this doll. This was like the hottest toy ever, and it sold out. People were selling this thing like in the back alleys of like cities, and it's crazy like what people went through for this stupid toy, right? So I remember
Oh,
that. And number two, the other thing I remember is, man, that thing vibrated. I mean, it's not just like a little, that thing's aggressive, dude. So I don't know what's up with this dude, man. I'm trying to picture this in my head, and I'm just like, maybe this guy just is like, he's a super freak or something. But I don't understand why he doesn't understand that he could just go buy one of these toys himself. They're quite frequent. You can buy them now. There's not a supply shortage on Tickle Me Elmo dolls at all.
Oh, yeah.
And beyond that, maybe he doesn't realize that there's probably all sorts of fun toys that he could just buy for himself that are specifically for the purposes he was trying to attain, and therefore he doesn't have to feel so, quote, ashamed about it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know, Chopper, maybe he overdosed on Cialis that night or something like that. I don't know. Maybe something had to be done right away, and he
He had
figured
an
out.
8-hour erection or whatever.
Yeah, the
It
one you're
didn't
supposed
go
to go to
away.
yeah, the one you're supposed to go to the doctor if you get, but instead he was like, "I'll just jam it and tickle me Elmo's throat."
Yeah, I'm gonna go to work and hang out in these people's house, and then go in the kids' room and put my wang in the fucking Elmo doll, I guess. Dude, okay, come on. I mean, no, this guy probably did this shit a lot. I bet actually, he
Yeah, I
finally
wonder
got caught or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder how many nanny cams he's been on. Maybe that's part of it. Some people are titillated by the whole idea of like maybe getting caught. So I don't know. Maybe.
I can't imagine having a wank that bad. You gotta run in the closet with the Elmo doll. That's just, I don't.
At a house
And
you're assessing? Come on, man. That's so unprofessional.
right, and like, wait, and these people just left. They split too. Like, I wouldn't fucking split with that dude in my house. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like, you just like, that's kind of, I find that weird actually that they left, but then they turned the nanny cam on a couple hours later. Like, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know, that's all pretty creepy, freaky right there. But hey, and we live in a day where the most popular streaming show on TV right now is about Jeffrey Dahmer. So, I was talking with Dr. Carol Lieberman earlier today, and we decided that the bar is just so high now for what's creepy and weird. Like, because you're made to, as a viewer of that show, you're made to empathize with Jeffrey Dahmer, someone, a mass murderer who's like eats people a little bit. Like there's some mixed messaging in the show. So she was saying, well, maybe that's just, the bar for like, 'cause people compare their own strangeness to, where the social bar is right now. So the social bar for like entertainment is Jeffrey Dahmer, chopping people's heads off, putting drills in their ears, dropping acid in the hole, leaving the head in the refrigerator, sexual assault on underage men, that kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's so weird. I never thought I'd see the day. But anyways, maybe the bar is just so high. And this guy was like, you know what? If Dahmer's popular, I can just take Elmo in the closet for a minute here. No one's going to care.
Well, if Dahmer is cool now, then the bar has gone way too far. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's like, and now again, and this is how we get the guy in the closet.
Well, this is what they caught him doing. Can you imagine all the other things that he could have possibly done before he got caught doing this thing?
Mm-hmm.
that's what
Yeah.
happened. I was going to say the same thing. If they go into his house, are they going to find Cabbage Patch dolls, Elmos, Bert and Ernie, Grover on meat hooks?
It'd be like the Sesame Street Cannibal Corpse album cover or something like
Maybe he's a serial doll rapist.
that. All right. Well, good luck with that, sir. You probably should not be doing that anymore. All right. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Okay, Mark. So, what's going on with the banksters? Let's get serious here. Let's rip on some banksters. What do you got for us?
Well, we don't have to be real serious. I'm working on a script and stories. I did one story, but I'm working on some other materials that might become, for instance, a possible monologue video at ukcolumn.org. That's tentative right now, but I looked at two agreements that the central bank of the central banks, the Bank for International Settlements Bank, based in Basel, Switzerland, they made two agreements, and I suspect there are many more. But the two I looked at, one is with the UK and the other is with the Swiss Federal Council. And that anyone would even call these agreements is just outrageously bizarre because they are so one-sided in favor of the Bank for International Settlements. Again, the central bank of the central banks. And basically what that bank does from its main base in Switzerland is it'll establish beachheads elsewhere. Think of it as a boatload of pirates, and they want harbor. They should be granted no harbor, but they want harbor. And they come in and they draw up these agreements like the ones I have original copies of here. And they tell the government, the host government, that you have no authority over us whatsoever. And our bank will do absolutely anything it wants to do at any time with absolute immunity. And that's called an agreement, according to any Treasury officials or Swiss Federal Council members that actually signed these things. They've got no honor. Anybody that would sign these has no honor, okay? None. Less than zero. Negative 1 million. And just to give you an example, the agreement that the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, reached with the UK. Well, let me see here. There's so many I could cite here. But basically what you're looking at when you read these agreements is you're looking at the terms of surrender of these nations to the banks. Let me see here. What was I looking at here?
That's pretty crazy, Mark. Because I was thinking today, actually, I was I was listening to the TNT stream before I went on TNT, and Patrick Henningsen was talking about that with Peter Ford, I think, who was the UK ambassador to Syria, and they were talking about this financial warfare and stuff, and like what would happen if a whole bunch of countries defaulted on all their debt, like if this recession went, the wartime economy and recession and all that stuff really went full bore. How like what would that look like? And it seems like this kind of treaty, which also sounds similar to the World Health Organization treaties that they're working on, that they're going to have similar wording in them, right? Where they can basically, we sign up, and then when there's an emergency, all of a sudden, all these countries lose their sovereignty and constitutions go out the window. And, we're back under the advisement of the WHO or whatever. How'd that work out last time? And then this sounds like sort of a similar sort of, back door for, large financial collapse, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misplaced one sheet of this, and I don't know how. It's pretty paradoxical how I did that. But at any rate, I've gotten on the screen over here. For instance, Article 5 of the agreement with the UK, the premises of the bank shall be inviolable. No official of the UK or person exercising any public authority, whether administrative, judicial, military, or police, shall enter the premises unless granted permission to do so. And in the Swiss agreement, the bank officers are granted absolute immunity from arrest unless they say something really egregious happens, but they don't name what that is, what the exceptions would be. Some flagrant criminal offense, they say. Maybe an Elmo event, right?
Yeah.
But at any rate, it's just pockmarked through both of these agreements that the data or any USB drive or any computer holding data, any correspondence, any immigration laws, anything to do with arrest, anything to do with regulating the banks in any way, shape, or form. That's the Bank for International Settlements or any of its 63 member banks by extension. Anything a normal nation state might do, even in the most minimal way, is absolutely forbidden. And yet in the UK agreement, for example, they still want the state to protect the outskirts of their premises. So don't mess with us. You can't arrest us. You can't regulate us, but we want you to protect us.
Wow.
And this is right in their own language. I've been going over this for several days now, reading both agreements. And I'm planning on contacting the Swiss Federal Council. One member of that I met in person at a Swiss People's Party meeting about 11 years ago. His name is the former Secretary of Defense, and he served as president of the Swiss Confederation. His name is Yeli Maurer, or Ulrich Maurer. He probably wouldn't remember me, but I want to contact him and ask him how any federal council or any representative of a nation state could keep a straight face and sign something like this, where they're giving the keys to the kingdom away from the largest central bank on earth, that's rootless, has no real national loyalties whatsoever, has the basis in Switzerland, pulls its ship, it wants harbor anywhere it wants to have harbor, does whatever it wants, and approaches these nations who are hosting it with what I would call terms of surrender. And those terms are, you can't mess with us, and financially we'll do whatever we want, and you can't even know what we're doing.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, let that sink in. And they don't even hide it. They're just saying, oh, we have the power, you don't. You're going to protect us, but not regulate us. And we will work our will, sign your terms of surrender.
This all sounds a little familiar. It sounds like banks setting themselves up to be like big pharma. Everybody wants that indemnity. Everybody wants that ability to tell the planet what to do globally. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how
Yep.
about that? And isn't it funny? There's an interconnection there, because the IMF was going around to countries and cutting, multi-bazillion dollar checks in Central and South America and Africa and other places. And there were strings that came along with those checks, and the strings had to do with COVIDian stuff. They had to do with medical testing and lockdowns and all this sort of, dealing going on in the background. So, we saw them do that and roll out a pandemic industrial complex and give big pharma indemnity. And then big pharma has just cleaned up, absolutely cleaned up. And now they're having to admit that they didn't even test these things and to see if they did what they said they did. Big surprise there. Shocker. Oh my gosh. And now the banks, it sounds like this is the banks setting themselves up for a similar set of indemnity and ability to just, go tell everybody what to do. And we all know what they want us to do, right? They want us to move to CBDC, central banking digital currency, and universal basic income. And that's why I mentioned that thing I read about PayPal. That's what is going to happen, and they will dictate everything, it sounds like. And this sounds like I don't know, this is totally illegal. This is totally lawless, Mark. I mean, these treaties, that they don't mean shit to the people that live in these countries. Are these elected officials signing these treaties, or I mean, who the heck is signing these things?
In the Swiss example, it's the Swiss Federal Council who are appointed by the elected members of the Swiss Parliament. So the Swiss Federal Council, which is 7 people that serve a rotating 1-year presidency, and each of the 7 have portfolios or areas of focus. The guy I met used to be kind of the defense portfolio, Then he became president, and he's stepping down, I understand, toward the end of this year. That's why I want to contact him. And in the UK model, it appeared to be Treasury officials, possibly only one or two, that signed away on this. And how many of the British newspapers, if they said anything at all, and I'm sure most of them didn't say anything at all, would have told the people anything meaningful about what these Treasury officials are signing and giving away the keys to the financial kingdom even more than ever before to the Bank for International Settlements, not just the Bank of England, which has been around since 1694, but to BIS, which is newer, yes, but the indemnity you're talking about, rightfully, Hesh, about the big pharma and WHO are certainly significant, very heavy-handed. But BIS, I think, what we're seeing here has been around quite a while, because the roots of these agreements, even though like the British one was signed in April of 2021, the roots go back to the 1930s. The conventions that they drew up back in the 30s, which is the better part of a century. So these appear to be longer lived than the big pharma or WHO examples you name. But you're right, they all have very significant similarities.
Yeah. Ruckus, what do you think, man?
I'm extremely confused, I suppose. So, who is signing? Okay, so this had nothing to do. I really thought this was about the IMF. So, but this is about the BIS, right? The Bank for International Settlements. Okay, so 2 individual countries have signed agreements with the BIS. Am I even close?
Yeah.
Okay,
Host
all right.
country agreement. Here's the title of one of them: Host country agreement between the Bank for International Settlements and the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And so BIS did something just like that with the Swiss Confederation, worded the same way. They established a beachhead or an office or a headquarters. The main one, of course, is in Switzerland, in Basel. And they come in and say, we're going to operate and we're going to be totally immune from any kind of government inspection, regulation, and so on. And they get the government to sign these agreements that are completely hands off. The government will not touch them. And the language is very explicit. The BIS shall be entitled to use codes and encryption, et cetera, et cetera. The word shall is just littered throughout this. The BIS shall have relief under arrangements made by the UK. The BIS, in the Swiss example, is immune from all taxes, communal, cantonal, and federal. No taxes, direct or indirect, can be applied to the bank at its main headquarters in Switzerland. And I suspect that's the same with the UK agreement, which I haven't read all the way through like I did the one with the Swiss. But yet, I mean, not even any kind of land tax or rent paid to the state or anything that I can discern. So,
but what do they do?
That's basically what it is.
What do they do? I mean, are they taking over the bank? I very no idea. This is way over my head, dude. I'm not gonna lie. So, are they just the Bank of International Settlements? I have heard of this before, but I guess I don't understand what it is. I thought it was just like a way to like wire transfer, or make like a SWIFT system or something. Maybe,
well, they're the central bank of the central banks. The commercial banks, for example, own stock in the Federal Reserve System in the U.S. So the Fed partially exists because the large commercial banks like the Bank of America and others own stock in that. Other stockholders are largely secret. But for BIS, other central banks evidently created it and made it the central bank of the central bank. So it's like another step higher. And its operations are very opaque. Exactly what they do is unknown. But the part that really needs a lot of headlines and needs to be explained is the fact that they want absolute immunity from even knowing what they're doing. And, they're not just saying, don't raid our offices unconstitutionally. They're not just saying, don't arbitrarily intercept our correspondence. They're saying to the host government, you have no authority to touch us at all. And that's what's particularly troubling. And so there you go. I'm being summoned. I might not be able to stick around real long, much longer. I'll just make that note. I was sort of uncertain how long I could be on tonight, but
Right.
But Ruckus, that's the a fairly good explanation of the situation, or at least I hope it's adequate. There's more to unravel, of course, but it's just something urgent that we get out there. And like Hesher says, there's parallels with these other entities.
So Mark, what's the like the most clear and present danger to that situation to those of us out here, just people that go to work and use the bank and stuff? Like, how does this new agreement affect everybody else? I'm sure it's not for our benefit.
Well, see, that's just it. I haven't looked at it long enough to know the full answer to that question. It's
Okay.
the fact that it's so opaque. It's the fact that you're not allowed to know.
Right.
And but it would no doubt, if this is even though it goes back to the 30s and some conventions that were worked out, if it's a relatively new thing, and at least for the UK, it appears to be, the one in Switzerland appears to have been written up in 1987, 35 years ago. And yet the UK one, very recently, April of 2021, if I had to sum it up, I would just say that it's kind of uncanny when they want to roll out the central bank digital currencies, that this is coming into play. And it could, and this is pure speculation, have something to do with that. Maybe the central bank of the central banks has to set up more beachheads and force its way into harbor, even though I say grant them no harbor, to use a little maritime language. But it could be that they need to set up these beachheads for the CBDC thing to be instituted. Even though that's pure conjecture at this point, it stands to reason. I got go ahead and have somebody comment. I have to take this call.
All right. Okay. So that makes a little bit of sense to me, Ruckus. Like, because if they're gonna do like like if they were to not ease their way into CBDC and just say, oh, we have an emergency, we're doing CBDC right now, everything, banks are all shut down everywhere. They're going to have to go do something illegal to pull that off. I'm guessing something that they would never be able to be transparent about, to just like consolidate all the global wealth, stick it into this new black box, and then tell everybody, what they can have, or, what happened to what they did have, or what the value of what they did have is now. Who knows, man? I mean, it's, yeah.
Headquartered in Basel, Switzerland, the Bank for International Settlements, BIZ, which is what Mark referred to it as, is a bank for central banks. It was founded in 1930, and the BIZ is the oldest global financial institution and operates under the auspices of international law. But from its inception to the present day, the role of the BIS has been ever-changing as it adapts to the dynamic global financial community and its needs. That's straight from Investopedia, which is where I go when I try to learn stuff about finances. So right out of the gate, it's pretty sus.
Sounds pretty bad, dude. That sounds pretty bad to me. A central bank for the central bankers, where you have no idea what's going on inside there. Okay. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. All right. Well, Chopper, you gonna what do you think about this one, man? You want to weigh in on this? I know how you feel about bankers and banker schemes.
Yeah, sounds like the bank business is booming. I want to be a banker. I told a banker that one day. I knew this banker dude, and I was like, how do I get into that business, bro? And he's like everything else, you gotta get down on your knees. I was like straight looking at him like, because he's like, oh, I'm just in the business of helping people. Like, but he knew, and I knew, he knew I knew, you know what I mean? By the way I was talking to him, it was kind of funny. But yeah, what a scam. And then of course you can't they're beholden to nobody. No laws, can't touch us. And yeah, maybe we should tax a central bank. That sounds like a good idea. I like that. Tax them. They got to pay taxes.
Start with an audit of some sort, maybe turn off all this black box action. It's just, I don't know. That's all so sketchy. Sounds super sketchy. So, Mark, they're basically expanding in these places where they have the treaties too, right? So, I mean, why do they? I don't understand why they need all these beachheads. Is that could that be also related to maybe some sort of switch over? Like they're going to need different locations to manage central banking digital currency or something?
That's my speculation. That stands to reason. That makes sense in the context of what we know already. I'm just appalled and aghast at the audacity of that organization, BIS, to spell out in such explicit terms that we're coming in here and there's nothing you're going to do about it. We're not interested in anything from you except to protect our door, our premises on the outskirts, on the perimeter. We want you to guard us, but we don't want you to do anything that would be law enforcement with regards to regulating us or looking at anything we do. In the Swiss example, there's another part where it says no immigration laws will apply. And that means people of unknown origin could be brought in under the auspices of the bank and given quarter in Switzerland. That could be assassins. It could be people wanted for financial misdeeds or crimes. And they want to be completely opaque. And so it's a complete reversal of reality. It's the people who are supposed to be largely inviolable, not above the law, but largely have inalienable rights and to be free to go about our business. So they just, again, they flip the world on its head and they say, oh, no, that's our little class of people. Everyone else is our slaves on the great BIS plantation. And just in principle, even if you don't know what's going on, any official worth their salt would say, there's no effing way we're going to sign this. Why don't you just get the hell out of here? And but that's not happening. James Madison talked about that early in our country. You don't wait for the abuses to come. You see the abuses in the principle, and you prevent the abuses by denying the principle. Madison was one of our greatest thinkers. Don't wait till the burglar's in the house. Establish the framework where the burglar will never get anywhere near your house. In other words.
Right. No, this is how those banks work. This is how central banks work, and this could be a key pillar in the great sweep up here. Because I mean they're obviously imploding our finances and our fuel on purpose. All these ridiculous sanctions, and they're putting all these crazy sanctions out. And who's benefiting from it? Well, Russia seems to be doing fine. China seems to be doing fine. They're making new oil pipelines, and their money hasn't just tanked like ours has. But our LNG companies are going to do great now that Nord Stream's partially down. All of a sudden, Western interests and the Biden administration, they've got great leverage for selling LNG at really high prices, while they're threatening everybody with not being able to heat their homes over the winter. Talked to one guy out of California this week. He said he knew someone there whose power bill was $1,500 a month. It was just, oh my God, the gas is $8 a gallon there in Los Angeles. Everything's like twice as much as it is across the nation, pretty much. It's total madness. So anyway, I don't know, man. Sounds like they're setting up for something here. Obviously, the financial warfare is a big part of this, and what you've uncovered about this, the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, Mark. Yet another thing we're going to have to keep our eye on. How are we going to keep our eye on all these things at once, Mark? I mean, gosh, we've got all the global cities initiatives. We got the borders. We got the J6 stuff. We got all the election stuff. Now we got all this banking stuff. I mean, how are we going to do this? There's so many stories to track.
I don't know. Just a quick footnote. I want to give the credit really to UK Column with their October 3rd, 2022 broadcast. When they first exposed a lot of these documents, I took them and printed them out, and I'm just looking at them a little further. So to give credit where credit's due, but it's something we can all pick up and put in our libraries and our archives and pull out from time to time. It appears to be pretty urgent. a lot of the other things, a lot of the goings on, the headlines, ticker tape headlines, here today, gone tomorrow, 24-hour news cycle, which I wish would end. I wish news would sign off like the old days and just quit at midnight, show the national anthem, and then just show TV snow most of the night. I miss those days. I'm dating myself a little bit when I say that, but I think a lot of the booming, buzzing confusion we see out there is to kind of mask and obscure things like that. I think these things matter a lot more than we realize. And so a lot of the things they throw at us are just kicking dust in our face so we don't pay attention to these deeper things. You know, especially all the puerile stuff about these brain dead Hollywood actors and entertainers and, you know, J-Lo this and, you know, whatever. It's like just diversionary, you know, bread and circuses.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, you always bring the heavy stuff, man. I guess I don't know how much longer we got you. How much longer can you hang out here tonight, Mark?
Oh, I probably should sign out. Something came up with that call that I have to tend to.
All right.
But I wanted to get on because next week here I'm at a friend's house where I've got a better office than the one I normally use. So I really want to take advantage of this better office. And I was already in news, the framework of frame of mind for doing news. So I thought, man, I got to call in and get this out there. I was already studying it when I remembered your show is tonight. And yeah, it's very interesting and quite troubling to look at. But we shall prevail somehow. The media that protects these bankers is imploding by the day. And the narrative is everything right now. The narrative is worth more than every bar of gold that's ever been smelted on Earth. And getting that narrative is everything. You're doing really good stuff with TNT Radio to help do that, Hesh. And step by step, we're going to get that narrative, and then the banksters won't have the metal roof protecting their building anymore, you might say.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, likewise, Mark, I appreciate everything you do. Get on out there. Keep it up, man. Keep up the good work and drop in anytime. Glad you're able to drop in tonight. We'll keep the show going for you in your stead here, and we'll look forward to talking to you on TNT again soon as well.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Bye, Mark.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, later, Mark. Have a good one.
All right, there he goes, everybody. That's Mark Anderson, the Truth Hound, thetruthhound.com. That's where you can find him on the web and also on Stop the Presses, which is on Republic Broadcasting Network, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time, I believe. Okay, let's see here. Ruckus, did you see the video of AOC getting humiliated at town hall meeting?
I got speaking of TNT, I got Joseph Arthur texting me links to that right now. So I haven't seen it yet. So let's
allow me to fill you in here because I got this right after I signed off on TNT today. And wow, this gives me hope for the youth, gives me hope for the students out there. And my good, I'm just going to play it. Let it speak for itself here. Go full screen with that.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks, okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that? Yes or no? Okay, simple. Are you going to stop nuclear war? Yes or no? There is no line, because this is bullshit. None of this matters if we're all dead. None of it. You know that. Then let's take it up right now, because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only thing that matters right now. We could be in a nuclear war at any minute, and you continue to fund it. That's what's going on. Why not right now? You're the liar here. Nobody has held you accountable. That's what's happening. And it is time for you to stand up and realize that what you've been saying has been lies. Let your conscience come through for once.
Scathing review there from students at the town hall. My goodness. Wow. Wow, Ruckus. Now you're
How
primed.
rude. How
Yeah.
rude.
How rude.
Rude. Totally rude. I'm with AOC. That dude was totally rude. That's a rude dude.
Rude dude.
Unbelievable. This is ridiculous. I like their little tactic there. I don't know if those two people went in there together, but the one got all of the security guards, taking him out, and while he, they were all distracted, the other guy got his say too. I
Yeah.
also found it interesting. There were actually people remaining behind who were actually like clapping and cheering. You could hear a few of them. So
Mhm. Yeah, they were not alone in those opinions. That was pretty
Mhm.
interesting.
and she's there doing a Q&A. He's asking the Q, and just very unusual for her. She's not given the A. AOC, of course, is what I meant, but the
right.
answers, yeah.
Of course. Answers.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Chopper.
What do you think of that one, Chopper? That was quite a review there.
Yeah, that was crazy. I read about it earlier, but I didn't watch the video or nothing, so that was fresh to me. I hadn't seen that yet. They were getting pretty upset about it, but it was weird. The article I read, they said that she was far left, but her critics there, those guys were even more far left, which I don't see any evidence of that they said anything that was even far left. I mean, unless it's extreme far left further than AOC to be anti-war.
Don't you like
just a
do
little pondering there? Like,
yeah, if you go that far left, didn't you find yourself back on the right? Or I'm not sure. Like,
does it connect back up? Is it a Mobius
space-time
strip
continuum
or
starts to break if you go further than AOC?
just swirling through a wormhole somewhere? Like what? Yeah, and then the other weird thing is that they said that she ran as an outsider, which is actually false. Just want to point that out. She was set up by one of these PACs with a lot of money. She was well funded and picked out of like 10,000 applicants.
The Justice Democrats.
It was like, here, we're gonna pick somebody and we're gonna hand you this platform and this money and funding and backing and plan and the whole. We're gonna hand it all to you. We're just gonna run you. This is who we're gonna support. We're gonna get voted into office. And that's exactly what she is. I remember reading about that when she was fresh and new and creating a big stir. But I don't ever see any mention about it anymore. Nothing. I think I even sent you something about it way back in the day.
Yeah, I watched all that content. They're called the Justice Democrats, and they're responsible for pieces of the squad, and their whole tactic is to pack nomination groups. You know what I mean? Pack primaries. So they go in there and they'll get 100 people packed into a primary, and they got they're all on their program basically, and then they pick their little influencers like her. It's kind of like trying to become a musician now. You got to be sellable on social media. You got to hit all these points that don't really have anything to do with being talented at music. Well, it's the same with young politicians in some cases when they get, sucked into these groups like Justice Democrats.
Well, instead of a record deal, they're looking to get their super PAC deal, I guess. I signed, dude. I got the contract, bro. I'm in Congress. I'm gonna be on this committee and that committee.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking for that ticket, you know. They want that young blood that keeps Nancy Pelosi looking the way she does or something. I don't know. They want
Well, I
that.
bet yeah, when she goes out, they gotta have a new one, so we get AOC for like the next 90 years till she dies or whatever.
Well,
Wonderful.
not if these kids are right and she causes a nuclear holocaust. Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe she'll have a bunker to get in, unlike the rest of us.
Well, they were pretty extreme on that front. Now that you mention it, like that's what kind of took me aback. Like, wow,
Yeah,
you guys are that worried about nuclear annihilation right
The
now?
level of hysteria that those guys were engaging in was pretty high. I mean, it was a decent tool to make the point to her, you know, because she's pretty extreme too. But I don't know. I'm curious about those guys. Like, what is their identity politic, and what other kind of media have they done, or was that just the first time we've seen those guys publicly? Like, I have some questions about that. But I mean,
Right, who are these guys? Maybe they are super extreme far left. I mean,
they could
maybe
be.
they
You
had
never
something.
know. I mean, they got to be easily radicalized if they're that way. So maybe Joe Biden radicalized these guys with his doom and gloom porn. What do you think, Ruckus?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, it kind of looked a little staged. And
Doesn't it all though? I can't tell any of
yeah.
it apart anymore, man.
But what would the purpose serve? And the only one I can think of is that it drives home this idea that we're all going to be destroyed by nuclear annihilation. That's the only narrative that it matches. You see what I mean?
I know what it could be. Maybe their Tulsi Gabbard street team right there, because they were big up in Tulsi big time.
True. And
Yeah, I
and
think
they
you're
called,
onto that.
Yeah, and they called on her to do exactly what Tulsi just did, which is to denounce the Democratic Party. So,
Yep.
That's going to be a campaign. Well, if we see it in a campaign ad somewhere, what do you think?
What I have a question. What's Tulsi doing right now besides a podcast?
Okay, so I talked about this with CC Woods in the third hour of my show earlier this week on TNT, and what we think is going on is that there's been a very calculated PR set of maneuvering that is potentially leading her to engage in maybe becoming a vice presidential nominee coming up soon. Because, and I know that's a little bit of a stretch and a prediction, but what we were tracking was, and I started seeing this stuff, we all did before this whole denouncement. Like, she completely denounced the Democrat Party, said it's a cabal of elitists, and she doesn't want anything to do with it. But before all that, it was like you see her on Joe Rogan like a year ago or whatever, and you also saw her. And remember, she was one of the people trying to get nominated for the Democrat Party, against Trump in 2020. And so there was, but then there was this shift. She started kind of shifting her rhetoric a little bit, and then all of a sudden she's guest hosting for Tucker Carlson, and people are like, "What's going on here?" And then she started putting out 2A videos. Like, she started putting out videos of herself at like IPSC classes or competitions, like a 3-gun competition. And then my 2A community all lit up on my social media, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" I covered this in detail, but some people asked her some hard questions on social media, like, "Hey, you used to be pushing for all this gun grabbing stuff. What's going on?" Folks, if you don't remember that was my biggest personal problem with her, was she was pushing for all kind of unconstitutional gun law changes. And I didn't like that, and neither did anyone in the 2A community. And then all of a sudden she's, making these John Wick style videos on her Instagram and stuff, and everybody's like, "What the hell's going on here?" And someone asked her the hard question, and they said, "Did you change your mind?" And she just wrote, "Yes, I changed my mind. More to come." So she's changed her mind, and she's now, by all appearances, pro 2A, left the Democrat Party, and she's got this slick new podcast that's out also. So we think there's probably a book coming next, and we predicted her showing up on Joe Rogan again. It happened almost the same day we thought about it. And this would all just be so perfect. She would be a perfect candidate, co-running mate for like a DeSantis or a Trump. So that's kind of what we're wondering if this is all about.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far out of the. I think that's in line because she already ran last time, didn't she? The time before, she ran for president already once.
Well, she tried for the nomination as a Democrat against
Right,
Trump.
and just didn't get. She didn't get anywhere. I knew that she wouldn't get anywhere. They bounced her quick or whatever.
Well,
But
everybody got bounced for Joe. So, but yeah, they demonized her during that process. They abused her a little bit during that process, largely because of her views on the Middle East and Syria.
well, the things that to me when she makes most sense is at least compared to these other clowns is when she does talk like the foreign policy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
She's always remember thinking, okay, at least she makes some sense here instead of just, we got Biden over here. He's begs the Saudis to shuts our oil off, begs them, starts a bunch of war and crap and going on, and then begs the Saudis to crank up oil, and then turns around and now they're talking about threatening them with sanctions and all this. Oh, so you're gonna sanction the Saudis now? Get out of here! You're
Oh,
such
man.
a clown, dude. Your foreign policy is a disgusting mess, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just some dipshit in the desert, and come on, I could do better than that.
Yeah, man. You pretty much summed it up right there. Patrick Henningsen had a really cool in-depth conversation about that today, again, over on his TNT show. So if folks want to check that out, it's really good. But I mean, you pretty much summed it up right there. It's just a mess. That is just a total dumpster fire right there, the whole thing. And the other thing is, so the Biden administration tried to get the Saudis to hold off on dropping production until after the elections, and the Saudis were like, no, no. And then Washington said, and that came out, and Washington said there was never no such discussion. And then today, the Saudi foreign minister came out and like confirmed it and said, yeah, they actually did, so they did. They tried to do that. So I mean, I don't know, man. The Biden administration is not getting any respect. They even make fun of him on fucking Saturday Night Live now. I mean, even Democrat shows are just ripping on Biden right now. It's so bad. Ruckus, what do you think, man?
Check out the tweet I just dropped right there in the Discord chat.
Oh, all right. What do we got here?
It's from March 2015 from Tulsi Gabbard. Tweeting at, replying, mentioning at World Economic Forum how she's honored to have been selected as the 2015's Global Youth Leader Voices representing Hawaii amongst leaders from around the world.
Yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And I don't know. The PR campaign is so damn good. I'm just really, I don't know. I'm dubious of the whole thing. But, I'll take anything over what we got currently, although I don't have a whole lot of hope in it. But, it's if she was the vice president, at least, here, check this out. If she was vice president, at least we wouldn't be hearing stuff like this garbage right here.
When you see our kids, and I truly believe that they are our children, they are the children of our country, of our communities. I mean, our future is really bright if we prioritize them, and therefore prioritize the climate crisis and the need.
What? She makes no sense. At least Tulsi can speak. At least we'd have someone that could actually speak.
That's our current vice president, right?
Yeah, that was
sure.
That was Kamala. That was Kamala.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, how about that one? Yeah. All right. Let's see. Did you hear this one yet? I'm just gonna play it. I'm not gonna set it up. Here we go. No, hold on. I think I have a better version of this clip. Actually, I'm gonna find this clip over here. Give me a moment. I'm gonna find this clip. Let's see here. What else? Oh yeah, this one's good too. So parents lit up at the Encinitas Union School District board meeting after the EUSD sent an invite to all families for this is hard to read. Sorry, it's really small. It's on the tiny screen, everybody. Cut me a break. Anyway, this is at a EUSD school board meeting here. So in the they're talking about a family-friendly drag show that had been proposed here. And I think this is yeah, let's see. Rooted Wings put this out on their IG. Shout out to them.
A drag show family friendly, because if you follow it to its logical conclusion, you can slap family friendly titles on anything. You can have family friendly gentlemen's clubs, family friendly strip shows, family friendly 50 Shades of Grey read alouds. Will you approve my flyer if I want to host in all the sex secrets of the Kama Sutra for kids and families if it's family friendly? That's my question.
Wow.
What is it about a grown man? And I honestly, sincerely, as a woman, mean this. What is it about a grown man costumed in a sparkly bra with augmented boobs busting out, a leather miniskirt barely covering his twerking ass with tuck tape on his front while spreading his fish-netted legs as he writhes on the ground, grinding his groin next to a minor, family-friendly? You owe us an answer.
No.
You know, you don't get to hide by just taking something down off Peachtree and calling it a day. You owe an explanation and an apology to everyone. You all got caught with your sparkly panties down. And while we have a culture that has a massive problem with child porn, with sex trafficking, you, a little school district board of adults, made the decision to feature an event to hypersexualize young children. Do you want to know that the word that defines that? It's groomer. You all played the activist pimp for an Align Surgical Center and for a 21 plus gay bar. It makes you groomers and activist pimps, and we won't have those sitting on a school board who oversees the education of our children. You all stepped out of line. You should be ashamed. There's nothing loving. There's nothing. Let's unite and include, because the logical conclusion of that is you end up in diabolical evil. There are boundaries, and you don't slap family-friendly titles on stuff to cover your ass.
All right. Whoa, another scathing review and a lot of clapping going on in the background there. Did you notice that, Ruckus? That place was lit up. I keep hearing about these school boards that have more and more and more people showing up to battle this kind of stuff. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I'm just family friendly. That's what qualifies as family friendly anymore? Well, I guess there's such a thing as family friendly strip shows. Yeah. This is just crazy. But those people like that parent right there is the one who's going to get demonized, in society, on social media. She could lose her job maybe over going out there and saying something like this. If she had a lucrative deal with Nike, she might lose it. I hear that kind of stuff happens these days.
Adidas.
There we go, Adidas. Who knows? Maybe she'll be fined $2,500 from PayPal or something.
Per thought crime.
Yeah. Oh wait, I heard that was a rumor too. False fake news.
No, that was an error. It was just an error.
It was just an accident. They didn't really mean to write all that and then put it out.
Yeah, whoops.
Mostly false, partly true. Yeah, the description of the guy doing his twerking dance with the fishnets, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a family friendly thing to me. I mean, I can't even imagine what a non-family friendly thing is like. Wow.
Right. Well, as we said earlier, the Jeffrey Dahmer show is the most popular show on Netflix. So, eating people and
what we need is a Tickle Me Dahmer doll this year for
Tickle
Christmas.
Me Dahmer.
Oh no, dude, that's gonna be the hottest new toy. That's the
God.
that's terrible, dude.
I smell a show title.
I think you do.
The disturbing thing here is why are these school boards having to do with drag, tranny, whatever's like why? So this is a thing now. We just can't, because I keep hearing about it. We're gonna keep putting school functions with drag queens in it. Like
Dude,
she got some points there. Like, what are these dudes even doing? Like,
school boards and city councils are fucked. They've lost their fucking minds, and the counties that have school boards and city councils like this are, they're starting to get railed by their citizens because everybody's waking up to this right now. I had this one guest who was saying there was a school board meeting that happened in one of the school districts in like San Diego area, somewhere outside of San Diego, and she said 250 angry parents showed up to in person to the meeting, and another 250 were on a Zoom call viewing it, and it was just like hundreds, just like across the board. The vast majority of these parents were against all these mandates and against stuff, all the CRT, and against that stuff, against all the drag queen stuff and all the obscene like sexualization that they've snuck into the curriculum, and the teachers too. They're pissed at the teachers, they're pissed at the board members, and the fact of the matter is it's all psychotic progressive leftists that are on these boards. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, yeah, you wonder why people are showing up. These people are showing up, I guess, but I mean, they're doing
Showing
it.
up trying to save their kids' damn lives. I
These
think
people
man.
are doing it to themselves. What do you're completely, I mean, this is so far out of bounds. I guess that's what I'm blown away about, the fact that this is happening to the point where people are pissed off. Like, what? I just don't get where they're getting, the bar keeps moving. The line's gone so fucking far. Where is it? Where? I can't see it. I don't have enough glass.
Yeah. Well, tickle me Dahmer. That's where we're at, man. They're gonna make it for kids, I guess. But I mean, back to that's crazy. That's another that one. I have no question as to whether that's organic or not. The one with AOC, there could be some stuntery there. Who knows? Hard to say. Maybe we'll find out more. But I'm starting to hear stories like that all the time now. It's just insane. All right. Well, we're getting close to the Ruckus bug out time here. Ruckus, I want to give a quick shout out to last night's Joseph Arthur's Technicolor Dreamcast. You and Joseph went in depth into the nuanced zones of Alex Jones and Kanye. And man, it was great. It was great. I was glad you guys did that. I enjoyed that conversation. And I'm curious to hear what kind of black pills you're going to drop into Joseph's cereal tonight on the show. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else I'm forgetting, man? Like, I assume you got to get going in the next few minutes here, or what's your plan?
Okay, well, I don't do the second hour hosting duties until the second hour. So you guys can keep me for a little bit longer, of course.
All right.
Number one. Number two, I know that you're itching to actually talk about this Dahmer thing because I think you've mentioned it more in conversations with us off air, as well as you touched it a little sideways earlier on your TNT show. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have a little bit something to say about that. And I think it's good commentary, especially since we brought it up, we might as well address it.
Yeah, well, I haven't finished the show yet. I'm waiting for Spore to come back so her and I can finish it together. We're about halfway through this season. So for anyone that doesn't know, anyone that's for the millions and millions of people out there that unplug their Netflix account because of cuties or hey white people or whatever, all that insane stuff that Netflix did, respect. But I have to stay plugged in so I can keep my eye on the propaganda waves. And anyways, they've got this new like Hollywood series about Jeffrey Dahmer out, and it's not like a docu-series or anything like that, right? It's got one of the main actors from American Horror Story in it. And I really don't have a full overhead assessment of it yet because I haven't finished it, but I can say I'll give you my first half review here real quick. I find it interesting that I don't know. Does everybody know it? Does everybody know the story of Jeffrey Dahmer? I don't know. Not everybody was a serial killer aficionado like I was, because I mean he was arrested in 1991, and that was right when I was busy reading about all those kind of people. I was interested in what happened with the Manson family and Ed Gein and all these different serial killers. So I was reading a lot about that kind of stuff, like when that happened, when Dahmer got caught. So they caught him in 91, and they start the series, it's a scattered timeline sort of thing. It's got sort of that Tarantino style timeline, and they start the show with his arrest, basically. And you see just some grimness, and it's like, oh, okay, wow, this is going to be interesting. And then it starts filling in the gaps from there. But basically, aside from a couple of quote unquote accidental murders that he did in his younger formative age, they spend the first half or the first 3, maybe 4 episodes sort of attaching you emotionally to the character of Jeffrey Dahmer, even though the first thing you've seen is, a head in his refrigerator as you come into the show. But they sort of walk you through, they do the thing that drags people into storylines. So they've sanitized it quite a bit. They've really sanitized it quite a bit from what I understand about Dahmer. And there's also this sort of um, 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 apologist slant to the writing, where they try to make the listener or the viewer feel a little bit sorry for Dahmer, and they say that he was basically there. And there's the funny thing is they're saying the same thing about the guy, the Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter guy, this week in his trial. They're saying he was doomed from the womb, basically, because mom was doing 26 pills a day or whatever while he was in the womb. They're saying that Cruz had fetal alcohol syndrome. They're kind of leaning into that sort of, how this person became this way thing. And they set up just sort of a little bit of like relatableness to the character, which I think would not be there if they did the timeline in a straight order, and inserted the things that were the most gruesome. I didn't exclude a lot of the gruesome stuff. So yeah, Rooster knows what he's done. I mean, this is a guy that would stick, with do home lobotomies on people that he lured into his home and drugged. He'd put a drill in their ear, up their nose, and pour battery acid into their cranium. You know, so and of course, so it's so sanitized. First of all, so I don't know, man. I feel like there's a little bit of psyop going on there, and I also think there might be a little bit of normalizing of that whole minor attracted persons theme that they're trying to throw out there. They don't want us to say the pedo word anymore. They want us to say minor attracted peoples, as though it's just something like no fucking buddy's responsible for their own actions anymore. I guess that's the overall thing here. No morals, all relative morals, no responsibility. And you know what? Yeah, sometimes people chop your head off and eat your butt for lunch, and they'll make a TV show out of it.
Just put a fancy acronym on it, and it's cool. Normalize
Right.
it. It's all good now.
Yeah, and it sort of adds it to the class of victims too, right? So victimhood is all the rage. Victim classes are all the rage. So throw that into the realm of victims too.
Dahmer's a victim, bro. He's just a victim.
They do sort of make it be that way.
Yeah,
so yeah,
gross.
Rum buckets on it. Death cult madness. Yes, it is death cult madness. But it's sanitized. It's sanitized death cult madness and drills in the eyeballs and raping underage boys and attacking the black gay bar in the disprivileged part of the city. I mean, there's so much to unpack in there, man. I mean, now I understand, because I kept seeing these people doing the like episode 1 review, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, people are making a meal out of this thing, and now I get it in that sense, because there's just like, and I don't know that they would do the same kind of analysis that like we would. It'd probably be pretty milk toast. Ours would be scathing and nuanced, but yeah. Anyways,
so
you referred to it in one of your conversations somewhere at some point about this as like apologetics for serial killers.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Number one. Number two, I don't know about this whole thing you mentioned, like, you know, except for the whole, you know, there were a couple accidental murders in his younger days. I mean, and who hasn't had those? Am I right? I mean, those
Yeah.
accidental murders, they're gonna happen. I
You
mean,
like that? You like
that's
that? How I just
crazy.
glazed over that?
Yeah, good job. So you're guilty of it too, my friend. The other thing, okay, so here's what's weird about this, guys. All right, this is really weird. By the way, we're not getting a loop back, are we? No, okay.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. So isn't it shocking to realize what I'm about to say? When there's a real life mass murder or shooter incident or whatnot, the news likes to have this thing where they're like, we have a policy where we're not going to say the person's name or you know, they try to avoid even talking about the stuff as much as possible so that they don't sensationalize it, they don't glorify this, and because this stuff inspires other people to do copycat stuff, right? Yet here we have a full-on slick production. Oh, geez, there's the picture. Oh, yeah, he looks cool. Yeah, he looks like somebody you probably would hang out with back in the day. But yeah, this is really wild that they do these things, and it's not presented like normally. Like when we were growing up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, most movies and TV shows, the main character is the good guy. I'm not
Yep.
used to this stuff where the main characters are the bad guys, and this isn't the first time this has happened, but this has been going on for a little while now, certainly since I basically stopped watching TV and stuff. I mean, they had, like heck, they have one straight up about the devil, right? What is that one? Lucifer. I'm like
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna sit here and watch this. This makes 0 sense to me. This is crazy." Like, so, yeah, they've totally changed the focus to the bad guy stuff, and it's really interesting and frightening, the flip-flop we're seeing here. So, I don't know what it means, but it's probably not good things for society.
It's such high level mixed messaging and strange like spot sanitization and then spot amplification, you know what I mean? And it is, you're right, it's so disingenuous to be like to have this Nicholas Cruz thing happening right now, you know, him getting sentenced to life for what happened in Parkland, while they're, you know, essentially glamorizing Dahmer life, you know, cannibal life, mass murderer life. And by the way, by accidental murder, I mean the first two that they show, he didn't like go and trap the person with the intent of bringing them home to kill and eat them, which then became his MO. So it was just like, you know, just it's still, you know, difference between what, like second and first degree murder or something like that, maybe. But that was the way it was, that was the way he said it in this interpretation, in this Netflix interpretation. So it's like there again, another example of minimizing something, sanitizing something, bringing it down, and glorifying this, you know. And the other thing, you know, since I brought up the Nicholas Cruz thing, I learned today from Dr. Carol Lieberman two things that I found really disturbing about this. Number one, um, there was every opportunity for a deal to be made where this individual could have uh, like his defense was willing to take a life sentence, hands down, and the prosecuting DA fought against that and fought for a trial. And the only difference in this trial would have been death penalty or not death penalty, right? And they spent I don't know how long on this trial, and they dragged all of the jurors into that macabre horror. They involved all the, you know, surviving family members in having to re-experience that macabre horror, and they took the jury. So that was totally unnecessary, you know what I mean? Like that could have all been avoided. All these headlines, all this flair they're giving this guy could have all been avoided. You know what I mean? This could have been done above board. It could have been done by the local sheriffs. It could have didn't have to be sealed by the federal government, you know, and make it so questionable. Arguably, that wouldn't have this thing could with Alex Jones could have been avoided for the same reasons there. If the information was just, you know, not locked up, everybody could, you know, the mainstream media could prove the narrative that they're pushing, but there's no proof for the narrative because this stuff is
Mhm.
classified. So, you know, of course people are going to question it. But I find that whole thing really weird, because that could have been avoided with just some transparency and some good local and state law enforcement. But instead, federal law enforcement comes in and they take it over. And all of a sudden, there's no information for the public other than what the media says. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. But the other thing I found really weird about the Cruz trial is they took the jury to the location. They took them to the school. Now, keep in mind, this happened in 2018. It's been 4 years. But they took them to the school and it's been sealed. Like the place, the location in the school where this happened, this tragedy happened, was sealed and nothing was changed. They said there was still like they toured the jury through the place. And remember, it happened on Valentine's Day. It happened on February 14th of 2018. So why would they do that? I'm really I'm just gonna ask
Well,
questions, you know what I mean? Because they said that there was still blood everywhere, like the blood splatters were still where they were, and a lot of it was like it sounded like it was it appeared to be very emotional in the sense that they had like all this Valentine sort of, like cards and decorations and stuff that are splattered with blood. And I'm just like, what the hell is that? What kind of, I mean, I don't know. I'm not law enforcement. I don't know. Is that any sort of standard procedure for a massive crime scene? I mean, we had one school get bulldozed after something like that happened. And then another one get like caution taped for 4 years so that they could
completely
then,
preserved. That's weird, dude. And
yeah,
like, okay, so you're going. See, I didn't even know all this stuff about this trial. So basically, they could have saved a whole lot of time and money, and just that guy would have took the deal for life, right? So the whole point of the trial was to try to give him the death penalty. Do I get this right? Am I following this right?
I think that's what we're to believe if we don't look very deeply. But then, that's
Okay,
hard to
but
believe.
they're not going to do that because they want lots of headlines and trial, and because this is all part of the media cycle. They love this stuff.
That's what I think.
you know.
Someone's influencing that DA, or that DA is looking for, to ride the fame and fortune of the clicks, it's like ambulance chasing for a DA or something like that. But,
Mhm.
I mean, it seems to me weird. It seems weird. Like, why would they do that with a crime scene? I mean, seems like the normal thing to do would be to collect all the evidence and, document it and then make that available to the jury. Is that not what normally happens? They preserve a crime scene for 4 years so that you can walk a jury through it. I mean,
Not
I'm
that
sure
I ever heard of.
there might be cases where that could be useful, I suppose. I've heard of juries going on little field trips here and there before, but I mean, this one seems really weird. So it's like that, and that all could have been avoided. That all totally could have been avoided.
Yeah. So check this. Maybe so the homie in the chat here, maybe he's onto something. Don't forget that everything is supposed to be the parent's fault. So in these two cases, so maybe the solution is if the state was their daddy, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Well, that's
How dare you.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting because Dr. Lieberman, she was saying a big part of the problem is trippy because I had Zen Honeycutt on first, and Zen Honeycutt and I were talking about school lunches and how terribly unhealthy they are. They're coated in glyphosate, heavy metals. I mean, it's awful. It's literally awful. I can't even go through the whole list. You'll have to go check it out on TNT if you're interested. But we ended up in a realm where we were talking about mental health of students and how this diet that they feed the kids makes them depressed, and how then depression leads them to having to go to the doctor or whatever, and how that leads them to getting on SSRIs sometimes. And and then I'm talking to Dr. Lieberman about this case with Cruz, and I said, well, what about the SSRIs? Isn't that a big thing? And she's of the opinion, and keep in mind, she's a doctor. She's a psychiatrist, right? Yeah, I think psychiatrist. So she can prescribe these things. And she said, well, the problem with those is it's not just the SSRI. She said the SSRI can be useful if someone is schizophrenic. And she said, looking at Cruz, she's pretty sure that he probably is schizophrenic. And if someone is put on an SSRI, they need to have the proper treatment, right? Like they would need to see that doctor once a week, like a clinical psychiatrist once a week to manage that shift over into the drug to see if it's going to help. But instead, what schools and places do is they use psychologists and social workers and stuff like that, and they're still able to get these kids out on SSRIs somehow, but they don't get any of that follow up, tracking. They don't get any of that mental health tracking. So it's like a matter of just chemical, yeah, right, Sunbill. It's a matter of chemical lobotomy, basically, and no sort of help. And so yeah, anyway, I don't know how we got there, how we got down into that.
Well, there you go. So maybe, just maybe, those kids out there might be asymptomatic serial killers. So they should probably line up at a testing center, take a PCR test, and then when they test positive for being a potential serial killer, we can just give them some drugs, some statins, and stat.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just kidding, but
okay, yeah, well, obviously,
well, I mean, maybe. I mean, how many times do I say things and I'm freaking kidding on Boiler Room,
right?
and a
And
month
then
or
they
two later, it's fucking real.
Yeah.
So apologies, folks. That does happen sometimes. I take it all back. But yeah, no, this just goes to show how they don't like to actually address the real problems.
Right.
First of all, about this whole thing. Now, about that setup with the school thing, yeah, I find that whole thing very sus, very bizarre, very disturbing, very concerning. It's almost like it was preserved. And why? Well, I could think of all sorts of bizarre, supernatural, satanic purposes for something like that. Because sometimes things aren't always as they seem, are they?
Dude, remember that guy that they busted over there? He was like throwing like dead raccoons or something on their little memorial. Do you remember that? Yeah, I put it in the Discord it was a couple months ago. Yeah, this guy, he had some crazy bad face tattoos and looked like a satanic demon.
Well, I don't remember it, man.
Yeah, no, that was a thing. It was there. They busted this guy. He had too much window tint, and they pulled him over, and he had like dead animals in his car. And then somebody had been desecrating their memorial over there, and they figured out it was this guy. Basically, this was not that long ago. It was just a couple months ago.
Wow.
Well, it's weird, dude. Because now, like, I'm seeing all this weird macabre stuff come up in my YouTube algorithm. Like, I saw there was one in there the other day about it was a breaking story somewhere, folks. You can find it. I don't have it to hand, but it was a story about this woman opening the door to her house and to find this young woman outside her house wearing hardly any clothes and a metal dog collar, and had ligature marks on her wrists and stuff. And she was like, begging for help, and she had escaped from the basement of a house across the street or around the corner or something like that. So she'd been tied up in some sexual assaulter's basement for a month, so it was like, whoa, that's getting into the realms here. And then I saw another one where it was like a woman's body was found in a clothing like those like those red box machines where you can get a DVD out. Well, sometimes they have these like clothing drop off boxes next to them. Apparently this woman got dumped or stuck in there. They're claiming it was an accident. I don't know. So that was pretty grim. And then there was another one too. I was just getting pounded with all this really grim, like, YouTube headlines. And I'm like, is this because I watched Dahmer on Netflix? Is everybody getting this effect after watching Dahmer, or are the headlines just grimmer than usual?
Was it
I don't
recent?
know. Yeah.
Well,
Totally.
yeah, it was recent. The dog collar one, I saw that on the interweb, like print feeds. I didn't get a YouTube video though. Thankfully.
Oh man. Yeah, you got ripped off. All right. Well, let's see. I have so many clips. I don't even know which one to go with. They're all they don't flow well. It's like just bouncing from one thing to another here. But that's just the way my feeds are today, man. This one's got a false information tag on it. I bet it's good. See why? Why is it false? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good reason. Well, let's see here. Okay, let's go with this one. This one's kind of important also. We got to talk about this.
Understandings. And I will speak in English so there are no misunderstandings. Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market?
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping humanization before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
So, no, of course not. We didn't really know it was going to be effective or not. So Alex Jones has to pay $1 billion, $995 million for lying allegedly, for which I'm still not sure they're able to. Okay, well, whatever. For lying about his, not even lying, just giving his opinion about the news with regards to SH. And how many people died because of Alex's lies? Zero. I'm pretty sure. Zero. And well, who else lied to us? All the celebrities lied to us, or they repeated that lie, the effective one, right? Effective jab. So are the celebrities gonna get fined $1 billion? We had many politicians lie to us about WMDs before going into Iraq. There was some, bold-faced lies exposed. 1 million plus people died in the wake of those lies. Where's our $1 billion from Tony Blair? Where's our $1 billion from, everybody else, from Bush and Powell?
You're tying this back to where Mark opened with the banksters, dude, because like those banksters don't even need that shit. Like, remember when Household Bank got busted for laundering billions of dollars for the cartels? Nobody went to jail. Nothing. Nobody lost their job, even as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
They paid a fine. They had to pay a tax, the laundering fee tax, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess some of these people already have their indemnities and their like bulletproof liabilities or whatever. I'm still tripping on the speed of science. What was that lady talking about? Is that even a thing?
Speed of science.
The speed of science. We had to move at the speed of science.
She just blinded me with her science there. I'm totally blinded by that. Blinded me with science.
I'm putting that on a t-shirt and everyone's going to be like, what does that even mean? Exactly.
You're like, yeah.
I'm going to say, watch out. I move at the speed of science. And everyone's like, well, does that mean he goes fast, slow? What does that mean? Nobody knows.
There you go.
No one knows what the hell is the speed of science mean? I mean, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. But the most damning thing about that and the most egregious part is how she laughs it off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is some pretty fucking serious shit right here, okay, people? And she's like, oh, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Full stop. End of story. Bam. That's it. Print that. Show that to everybody you know. Everybody you know. And if there's still like people running around saying it's safe and effective, bopping them on the side of the head, should have had a V8 or something. Like, there's no hope for those people. If they can hear these people say, we knew they were not effective because we didn't test it. Of course we didn't. We had to move at the speed of science, dummy. This is some this is messed up, yo. But I am gonna have to zip on out of here fairly shortly now. With that energy because that just absolutely pissed me off. Thanks for giving me some ruckus juice there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll leave you with Kid Rock's tweet. Another tweet that I was digging today. Our friend BMac posted this one, reposted it from Kid Rock Official. Do you remember when we didn't have 5 billion to build the wall, yet now we have 700 billion to give to other countries? In case you haven't figured it out, this is money laundering 101. I like that. I like the cut of your jib there, Kid Rock. That's a good one. MIA too, man. MIA, man, her Twitter's going crazy today. Here's one from her. If Alex Jones pays for lying, shouldn't every celebrity pushing jabs pay too?
Exactly.
Great question. And one more before you go. JP Morgan kept Jeffrey Epstein as a client despite internal warnings. Compared with today's headline, Kanye West Yeezy company dropped by JP Morgan Chase. So JP Morgan Chase, wow, they're so virtuous, they're so amazing. They're gonna drop Kanye for what are arguably misconstrued statements taken as highly racist. Whether they were or not, that's for everyone to decide. Again, I recommend listening to Ruckus and Joseph talk about that last night because it was all the nuance that you could want in that conversation. But how about that one, man? That same company, all right, they did not do anything with Jeffrey Epstein, and that was from the New York Times in 2019. Kept Jeffrey Epstein as a client despite knowing everything about him, yet Yeezy's out. So you got more virtue signaling there, more company bank virtue signaling there. Well, we know what because Mark Anderson was here, we know what the banks are actually doing with their the central banks are doing with their central elite bank on top of the central bank, setting up all those beachheads and stuff. So all right, Ruckus. That's as much as I can cram at you. Go get some more. Go get into that Technicolor Dreamcast. Enjoy yourself. Have a good show over there. We'll tune in as soon as we cut the stream here.
Cool. All right. Yeah, you guys have fun. Do your thing. But yeah, this is Ruckus signing out. So may God bless each and every one of you. And may God save this republic. And may God prevent everyone from nuclear annihilation because Lord knows AOC ain't going to do it. Good night, everybody.
Later, Ruckus, dude.
There he goes, everybody. All right. Well, Chopper, I don't know. What do you think, man? You want to talk anything else? I also, here's another one. Bill Gates warns civil war is coming and will bring it all to an end. What is that? I don't know.
Oh, wow. That's a new one. I haven't seen that or heard that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see the clip to buy into that one. They say that the quote is okay. Let's see here. Let's see if I can read from this. So this came out September 30, 2022 on a website I am not familiar with. So keep that in mind. Gates also revealed he's been trying to come up with a solution for tackling misinformation and conspiracy theories. He said, I have a group that tracks what's on the web that's talking about things that connect to me, he said. Overwhelmingly, during the pandemic, 95% was all the conspiracy stuff. The polarization and lack of trust is a problem, he said. Well, you kind of participated in that one, buddy. One of the best-selling books last year was a book by Robert Kennedy saying that I like to make money and kill millions of people with vaccines. Oh my God! All right. Well, I don't know about that one. I'm gonna have to
That's weird. So, all right. So he's kicking up the hornet's nest, and then he has a group to track his hate mail on the interwebs, or what, dude?
That must be nice to have a group of people that you can pay to just make sure nobody's saying mean stuff about you on the internet, or make sure you know what every Tom, Dick, and Harry conspiracy theorist and not are saying about you on the internet. My goodness.
Right, and then tie this into some kind of civil war and misinformation somehow. This is interesting. Yeah, I want to send me that. I want to check that out too.
All right, yeah,
we'll
get
a chance or whatever.
Into that for everybody there. Oh boy, yeah. So, are you worried for Alex Jones? Do you think he's going to make it, man? I'm not worried about him. I think when this kind of stuff, I mean, it is. I'm more concerned about the precedent that it sets and the messaging that it's trying to send out to
Mhm.
normal people like us, like us and our viewers that just want to engage in free speech when it comes to information that's openly available on the
Mhm.
fucking interweb. I mean, that's really all Alex Jones is doing. He's not right all the time. He's not wrong all the time either. And they're basically saying with this, and a lot of people think he's untrustworthy, whatever. He's a shyster. I don't know. I can't. That stuff all just set all that stuff aside. The messaging here is a threat. It's threatening everybody to follow the narrative or be shut down and penalized. This
Penalized.
big
And
time.
not no $2,500. We're talking about a billion here. A
Yeah.
cool bill, bro.
Man, PayPal looks like a nice daddy compared to the government or God, whatever state this is. This Pennsylvania that's doing this to him.
I think you're right. This is about sending a message. I have for all I know, that dude's in on it too. Like I seen the only thing I saw a little reaction clip of him basically like, yeah, whatever, doing the Oprah thing. 10 million, 100 million, you get 10 million. He was doing that, like laughing at it basically. He's like, I'm not going to pay these people. Send me money. I'm going to fight it. Whoa.
Well, it is, I mean,
If anything, it might make his viewership go up for all I know.
I don't know, man. It's like he can, as far as I'm concerned, he can say whatever he wants. If one of his listeners did something illegal to one of those parents because they're unstable, then those people should be dealt with individually for whatever they did.
For sure. It sounds like that's happened. So are those people getting dealt with? Like they're not charging them $1 billion.
Yeah, this is the equivalent to saying that the spoon made you fat instead of you made you fat. You know what I mean? Or I don't know, man. It's stupid.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. That's how they roll, dude. That's so much of that everywhere we look. But yeah, go ahead.
It's just they're trying to tell us that they're intimating to the public here that they are weaponizing the justice system and that it's not just aimed at people like him. It's going to be aimed at everybody. Rooster wants to know, is this the largest individual payout? I don't know. Man. It might very well be. Last I heard, InfoWars was somewhere in the realm of like $10 million a year. This was some time ago. It probably went up. But what's that, like 100 years of InfoWars income there, Chopper?
Something like, yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. 10 times. So yeah, times 10, that's 100 million. Yeah, that's 100 times, 100 years.
Yeah, so I don't know. But the other thing, I mentioned this on TNT earlier today too. When things go bad for Alex, all of a sudden Bitcoin starts showing up in his Bitcoin wallet. So maybe. And he's filed for Chapter 11 too. And I saw one of his statements earlier today, and he was saying, he's like, I got everything I need. He's like, I'm not a thing fetish guy. I got a house, I got cars, I got enough to fund the business and fund the lawyers. And the Chapter 11 will stop them from coming after more of it. And it's just going to be fight them in court for years. And that's probably what's going to happen. And I'm guessing there's going to be, they'll appeal, and it'll go on and on for probably a long time
until they finally come up with some settlement, if ever, based on that. Like, see, because I don't even understand how this stuff works. Like, I mean, just because I do know that just because somebody gets a lawsuit type judgment thing against them, that doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily even forces people to pay. I don't know. It seems really complicated. Like you said, it just turns into more lawyers and more money in the system and time. And, it's like, okay.
Right. Well, it's just more, it's weaponizing the civil court too. It's just like civil courts are going to be weaponized against the people. I hear Daniel Spalding made a good comment about it. Daniel Spalding, I'll channel Daniel Spalding right here. They're using Alex Jones as the test case. If they can get away with weaponizing civil courts this way, they'll go after anyone the liberal left doesn't like anti-jabbers, Putinists, right-wing extremists, etc. And he also added to that, and I think this is an interesting comment. He said, "Interesting that the school and police department that failed to protect the kids at SH have faced 0 civil suits. But some radio host a dozen states away is essentially being held responsible for the SH shooting merely for shooting his mouth off a few times. Daniel is always so good at condensing things into a cogent statement like that. Yeah, so
Yeah, he's got a good point there.
yeah,
He's right.
yeah. And Patrick Henningsen said a mockery of the justice system in America and opens the floodgates for more of the same. So shout out to those two guys because I think that pretty much sums it up. And I don't think Jones is going anywhere. He said that they will have to kill him or put him in jail to get him to shut up. So respect.
That sounds about right. Sounds like what he would say.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I got to shut it down, I think, bro. You got anything else you want to throw out there tonight before we bug out and go to? We'll run the simulcast over to Joseph Arthur's show here on Alternate Current Radio after we do close this video out and this audio stream out. I want to thank Mark Anderson and Ruckus for being here tonight. Thanks, Spore, for channeling that icebreaker via Ruckus, I think, originally. I don't know. Crazy night tonight. Long day, long week, so much media going on, Chopper, and there's going to be more tomorrow. I got an exciting show lined up for everybody on TNT in the morning. So, yeah, I guess over to you, man. Save rounds, final thoughts, anything else you want to throw out there?
All right, cool, man. Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. It's good. Yeah, the news cycle has been really crazy lately. They've definitely ramped it up. Shout out to Spore, miss you, Spore. And that's it. This is great, dude. Thanks for having me. Everyone have a good night. I'll catch you all on the flip. Oh, be excellent and do cool shit.
There you go. There you go. Be excellent. Do cool shit. Thanks, Chopper, man. It was great to have you on the show. I'll connect with you on the Discord after the show. And that's it, everybody. We're out of here. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Boiler Room. Share the YouTube links around and share the Rockfin links around. Make sure that the Social Rejects Club out there get those because we're a little backed up in the editing for the podcast streams. Apologies for that. We will catch up. Ruckus and I are working on a lot in the background. Sports helping us in the background. And yeah, I'll see you on TNT in the morning. We'll see you for Mixtape Saturday here at Alternate Current Radio on Saturday via our Mixcloud account. See you for Sunday Wire. I think the American Road Show shall continue this Sunday on the Sunday Wire with Patrick Henningsen. That is going to be a blast. And we'll see you again for another live stream real soon here in the Boiler Room. Peace out, gang.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.